Secor recalls that I met Dylan's son, Jacob, and Jacob said it made sense that I was a teenager when I did that because no one in their 30s would have had the guts to try to write a Bob Dylan song.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Audiophiles, you bugger! My name's John, his name is Andy. Oh, the night is my world. City light, painted girl. In the day, nothing matters. It's the night time that flatters. More on that later. But first, we have a track to listen to. Andy, what do you got?
John, have you ever heard the song Wagon Wheel? Does that ring a bell to you at all? All right, interesting. It's an interesting song with really the interest is the backstory, but it is by a group called Old Crow Medicine Show. At least this version, the original, or well, we'll get to that. There's a little gray area, but the closest thing to the original finished product of this song is by Old Crow Medicine Show. Have you ever heard of them?
Oh,
Oh, okay, all right. Well, then you're flying blind here, which is perfectly fine. Go off, give Wagon Wheel by Old Crow Medicine Show a listen. This is the official video for it, and so you can give it a watch too, and then come back and let me know what you've made of it.
okie dokie.
Headed down.
Okay. Nice start. It has a real strong whiff nostalgia about it. It's that old timey sound. I don't know why, but the guys are all wearing carnations. Are they done it for a wedding? Um, yeah, and the lady centre of the in between the banjos and the acoustic guitar and the double bass, she looks ready for action. With the way she's posed with her hands on her thighs. Yeah, interesting stuff. It's got a very nice, sort of gentle, sort of roll to it. Where's the fiddle? It seems to be not there. Someone else is playing it. Don't know. Anyway, so it goes.
South to the land of the pines. I'm thumbing my way to North Carolina, staring up the road and pray to God I see headlights. I made it down the coast in 17 hours, picking me a bouquet of dogwood flowers, and I'm hoping for Raleigh I can see my baby tonight. So
Just to say, the extra vocals there and those two lines sounded really nice, as you would expect. This all sounds very standard. I'm not an aficionado of sort of country, old country, bluegrass, whatever you want to call it. Andy is. But there's nothing here I'm hearing surprises me. It's what I would expect. I like the line. So he was obviously looking for his baby in a rally. I know that is the state capital of North Carolina, and not a reference to a brand of bicycle coming out of Nottingham, UK, specifically the Chopper, the Grifter. Yeah, great days.
rock me, mama, like a wagon
Oh,
wheel. Rock
those
me,
girls.
mama, any way you feel. Hey, mama, rock me. Rock me, mama, like the wind and the rain. Rock me, mama, like a southbound train. Hey, string band. My baby plays the guitar, I pick a banjo now. Oh, North Country winters keep forgetting me, and I lost my money playing poker, so I had to up and lay. But I ain't turning back to live that old life no more. So rock me, mama, like a wagon wheel. Rock me, mama, any way you feel. Hey, mama, rock me. Rock me, mama, like the wind and the rain. Rock me, mama, like a southbound train. Hey, mama, rock me. Walking due south.
Yeah, I know I shouldn't really comment on the video, but it's all part of the thing, isn't it? That was a really odd section there. It kind of had the whiff of like David Lynch about it. That really harsh spotlight gave a kind of otherworldliness, like it was, I don't know, the White Lodge or sort of thing. It was just really odd. Likeable, but odd.
Out of Roanoke, I caught a trucker out of Philly, had a nice long toke. But he's headed west from the Cumberland Gap to Johnson City, Tennessee. And I gotta get a move on before the sun. I hear my
Yeah, a couple of things there. Certain songs, particularly of certain genres in America, really seem obsessed with geography. I guess it's because it's such a big place and you can get away with that. Listing towns and cities in the UK doesn't quite sound as glamorous, even though there's so many of them in America or come from UK place names. Like, case in point, I'm sure he said the Cumberland Gap there, which to my reckoning is somewhere north of Carlisle, on the way to Gretna. Again, not quite so interesting or glamorous as some Appalachian place, I guess. He mentioned Philly and Johnson City, was it? In Tennessee, New England as well, and obviously North Carolina, Raleigh. Yeah. You won't really be going on about sort of, I don't know, Lutterworth or Kettering, to name a couple. It does give a flavour to it, which I guess is shorthand, isn't it, to picture things in your mind.
baby calling my name, and I know that she's the only one. And if I die in Raleigh, at least I will die free.
Oh, sorry, I just took a turn there, which I didn't really understand. It's just something about if I die in Raleigh, at least I'll die free. I didn't know that was on the agenda. It just seemed to be bouncing about the place trying to find his baby. Let's listen to that bit again.
Johnson City, Tennessee, and I gotta get a move on before the sun. I hear my baby calling my name, and I know that she's the only one. And if I die in Raleigh, at least I will die free.
A bit dramatic.
So rock me, mama, like a wagon wheel. Rock me, mama, any way you feel. Hey, mama, rock me. Rock me, mama, like the wind and the rain. Rock me, mama, like a southbound train. Hey, mama, rock me.
I quite like that ending as well. Just like, and then there's a very frustrated art house director involved in the making of this video, I think. Yeah, overall, really nice, pleasant, gentle. Didn't catch all the lyrics as usual, but seemed like there's a few standard sort of memes that you would expect from this sort of thing. Yeah, pleasant enough. I can't say that I dislike bluegrass. I can't say that it's my thing either. But where I had a good version, I enjoy it, and this was definitely that. So let's find out some more about Old Crow Medicine Show. Um, let's go back and chop it up with Andy.
All right, rolling back into frame like the wagon wheel he is. John, what did you make of this track by the same name by Old Crow Medicine Show?
My first thoughts are this. Wagon wheels are a very fondly remembered snack
Yeah.
from yesteryear. Two biscuits with some marshmallow filling, all covered in chocolate. They are often cited as an example of shrinkflation, as almost everybody of my age remembers them as being the size of dinner plates in the 1970s. They're so big you could barely hold them in your hands, and they certainly wouldn't fit in your mouth. And now they're about that big.
Yeah.
Um,
Cut and paste everything you just said, but instead of wagon wheel, call it a moon pie. And that's the American
uh,
pre-packaged product of the exact same description that you just put forth there with wagon wheel. And yeah, I think people have been fetching about the diminished size of those as well. I don't know if they still make the big ones. I thought they did both, and they made like a more like calorie conscious version one. But the one I recall, and they're more popular in the South, if I'm not mistaken, which is apropos given the sound of the song. But they were like seriously like bigger than a softball, the diameter of a softball over here. And now I think they're like a traditional cookie size. Which I mean, if you're gonna eat shit, you want to eat shit big. You know what I mean? So,
yes, and it's that's so interesting that the same phenomenon occurs because apparently they haven't changed at all. But what's happened is your memory of back then when you were like that tall.
uh, some sort of Mandela effect about the size
Yeah,
of it.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And of course, a few years after that was when we first started seeing these things. Because bizarrely in the 70s and stuff, people didn't really have lots of snacks in their home. Um, so you wouldn't have had bags of crisps, you wouldn't have bags of sweets, and then got these things called fun size that were
Mhm.
small, like Mars bars and other confectionery that
Yep.
were and they were marketed to be put in the fridge. Um, and so oh, this is exciting. You go to the fridge as a kid and you pull out a Mars bar and it's like that long. And then where's the fucking fun in that? I mean,
Tearing
yeah,
through like 8 of those wrappers that are
yeah,
strewn about on
yeah.
top of the garbage because you wanted to like the to actually just have one normal sized Mars bar. Yeah.
Just shows how stupid we all are.
Yep.
Anyway, so with the and the other thing is that you mentioned in the intro about this song and it's whatever it's original. I'm thinking there's a bit of the sort of House of the Rising Sun about this that it's been passed around and messed around with for different things. So very interested to find out.
Yeah.
So with the nostalgia bygone biscuits floating around my head, we arrive at this song and another scene which strongly reeks of Parfum de Temps Passé. Um, so we see a makeshift stage, chock-a-block with old-timey folk and that the promise of that old-timey sound. So we have an acoustic guitar, some banjos, double bass, and somewhere off stage a fiddle leads the dance. Um, in the midst of all this, and the guys are wearing carnations, so I'm thinking there's a wedding to be had at some point. There's a fairly stern looking lady in the middle of all this who's clearly braced by her posture for whatever comes next, both hands on thighs. Whether that happens to be a spot of pig wrangling or perhaps milking a heifer, she's ready. Um, I did have this thought later on. What the hell does she do in all this apart from look quite? She smiles at one point. Doesn't suit her. But yeah, don't know what she did, but that's very strange. So the music itself has this very pleasant camber to it. So it starts off fiddle based, leading the way with the acoustic and banjos going along. From my limited knowledge and exposure, it sounds like an excellent representation of its ilk. Up pops the singer on a neighbouring stage, and he's inching away on his along on his toes like the proverbial brothel creeper. He says he's heading down south, and I don't think that's a euphemism. Back to the motherland, I presume. And he mentions North Carolina. He doesn't say at the end. And he's praying for headlights. Again, not a euphemism. I think it's a potential because he's thumbing a lift. Um, as he's singing along this first bit, the banjos have gone from this sort of nice sort of strumming action to more like picks notes that bubble along underneath the vocal melody, and it seems to tie it all together. So it's really nice, sort of like textured commentary. Um, After plenty of hours of him thumbing it, I guess, and some dogwood flowers. I don't know if they're like dog roses, but he sings a couple of lines which are joined by the rest of the band. And I'm hoping for Rally. I can see my baby tonight. Now, he could be aspiring for a certain brand of bicycle that was made in Nottingham, the finest examples of which would be the Chopper and the Grifter. However, even as an ignorant limey, I know that Raleigh is the state capital of North Carolina, which makes more sense because that's where his baby is situated. It'd be rather awkward if she was in a basket on the front of a bicycle, and it's a very different model, more like the Raleigh Sherwood. But anyway, I digress. So we get to the chorus, which prompts an outburst of advertised girls to join our intrepid singer on the stage. Jesus. So we get this chorus. So rock me mama like a wagon wheel, rock me mama any way you feel. Hey mama, rock me mama like the wind and the rain. Rock me mama like a southbound train. It's always southbound.
It is.
Hey mama, rock me, you know, the nasty Yankee Northerners. So yeah, luckily the blonde, and I use that word advisedly, sashaying on stage next to the singer has a fiddle in her hand all of a sudden that she was keeping warm, and she hands it to him. He then proceeds to do a brief fiddle cameo, and it seems to induce some sort of fever dream where we get images of this melancholic funfair that's fairly deserted, and then slightly distorted views of the ladies, like, you know, someone's just slipped something in your drink and it's just starting to have effect.
Starting to take.
Very strange. And then we snap out of it. Back to the next verse, and the band have all shuffled across to join our intrepid singer on stage. The next verse, he sings about being a fiddler with his baby on the guitar, and then he switches to banjo. Such is life. Some of the heavy losses playing poker had prompted a speedy exit from the town and from the lifestyle, which of course he's never going back to, honest Injun. As the chorus returns, the gang then decide to file off stage, just as they start to get an audience. And we go to this very odd scene, which has a bit of a sort of Lynchian flavour to it. This weird spotlight on them backstage. It has this sense of otherworldliness, a bit like the sort of White Lodge. In otherwise a very pleasant sort of instrumental break. I participated in the midget dancing, and someone speaking back was yep, 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 yep. But no, it didn't happen. And then they fell back on stage like nothing happened, and there is a fairly plentiful, by this video standards, audience waiting. And the singer then lists places, and it made me think, actually, in various sort of genres of American music, geography plays a very important part, and quite often you get these lists of places. I know in the song he mentioned North Carolina, Raleigh, Philly, Johnson City, Tennessee, I think it was, New England as well, and the Cumberland Gap. I guess it's quite ironic, really, because there's so many places in the US that are borrowed from the originators of whatever land they came across. A lot from the UK, obviously, hence Washington, and other places like that. But British names don't seem to have that same ring about it. You wouldn't be talking about going of the A43 to Kettering or whatever. It just doesn't have that ring. But I do know that the Cumberland Gap is a place in the UK originally, and it's past Carlisle on the way to Gretna. So there you go. And just as I'm pondering all this, I must have missed something, because the lyrics take a very dramatic turn where he has the urgency to see his baby, comes the declaration that if he happens to die in Raleigh, he dies free. I didn't know that that was on the agenda all of a sudden. But there you go. So I missed something there. He's clearly contemplating it, and luckily he dies free. I think that's just an overall general sort of intonation of the freedom of travel, etc. Um, or using the shorthand, homelessness, due to really bad poker playing. We get this final rendition of the chorus, which ends with a flourish of the fiddle and a shot of the funfair, now illuminated and bustling, I presume. So yeah, this is a pleasant song, which is fairly sort of, I wouldn't say, there's nothing musically within it that sort of like shocked me or was that, I know, very limited knowledge of like this old country bluegrassy type stuff. But whenever I've heard, I wouldn't reach for it, but whenever I heard it, if it's decent, I enjoy it. This was decent, I enjoyed it. I thought the video was shot by some wannabe art house director. I'm very, very bizarre, which I enjoyed just as much, actually. So yeah, no complaints at my end. Yeah, I'm very fond of David Lynch. So there you go.
Excellent, excellent. I'm glad you enjoyed it for what it was. I liked the song. I liked it much more then, only because of what has happened over time with the song, and I'll get into that. Um, but it's also kind of a very interesting song given the context of its history and how it came to be. Go ahead.
Yeah, I forgot to mention Wagon Wheel on the chorus just seems to have nothing intrinsically to do with the verses. I mean, I associate the wagon wheel with the trails across America, the pioneers, etc.
Mm-hmm.
You don't necessarily get wagon wheels these days, apart from covered in chocolate.
Mm-hmm.
So the two things the narrative didn't seem to match with "Mama rocking you to sleep like a wagon wheel" type thing. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I thought that was weird and interesting as well.
Okay, interesting, cool. Well, we'll get into the whole shebang and bang, and perhaps some of it will make more sense to you, or at least be of interest. Old Crow Medicine Show. They're an American string band based in Nashville, Tennessee, that has been recording since 1998. The group's music has been called old time, folk, and alternative country. Along with original songs, the band performs many pre-World War II blues and folk songs. Bluegrass musician Doc Watson discovered the band while its members were busking outside a pharmacy in Boone, North Carolina in 2000. And if Boone, North Carolina rings a bell at all, we discussed that and the surrounding area in our Cigarettes at Sunset discussion. That's where those youngsters are out of. So this is all kind of, it probably starts to make a bit more sense, right? This genre of music being welcomed and part of the culture in Western North Carolina or Carolina, depending on who you ask. So yeah, with an old-time string sound fueled by punk rock energy, it has influenced acts like Mumford and Sons and contributed to the revival banjo-picking string bands playing Americana music, leading to variations on it. The group released 8 studio albums: Utah in 2002, OCMS, Old Crow Medicine Show, in 2004, Big Iron World in 2006, Tennessee Pusher in 2008, 2012's Carry Me Back, 14's Remedy. In 2017, they released Volunteer, and in 2022, they released Paint This Town, and a year later, their album Jubilee. The band's lineup has changed many times over the years, but their lineup during this period and on the album on which Wagon Wheel features, the aforementioned OCMS, consisted of Ketch Secor, vocals, harmonica, fiddle, and banjo; Willie Watson, guitar, vocals, banjo; Critter Fuqua on banjo, vocals, and guitar; Kevin Hayes on Gitjo; Morgan Jonig on the upright bass. But the album also features 2 guests that we are familiar with here at the channel: Gillian Welch on drums on tracks 2 and 7, and
Do
David
you pronounce
Rawlings.
that correctly?
Yeah, David Rawlings on guitar on track 11. And Rawlings also produced the album as a whole. They've contributed with them multiple times, and they both feature in this album, I believe, as the ticket takers at the fair. So you probably caught a glimpse of them throughout it as well. Um, Ketch Secor and Chris Critter Fuqua met in the seventh grade in Harrisonburg, Virginia, and began playing music together. And to hone their craft, they performed open mics at the Little Grill Diner. This is where they met Robert St. Hours. Secure had been driving up to Mount Jackson, Virginia to the Bluegrass Saturday night in the summer, going up to Davis and Elkins College to participate in the Old Time Music Week there, and meeting guys like Richie Stearns. Secor formed the Route 11 Boys with St. Hours and his brothers, and they continued performing at the Little Grill. Willie Watson first met Ben Gold in high school in Watkins Glen, New York. After playing music together, both dropped out of school and formed the band The Funnest Game. Their brand of electric old time was heavily influenced by old time music scene prominent in Tompkins and, pardon me here, Schuyler County, New York, including bands like the Horseflies, which we featured on this channel, and the Highwood String Band. After the breakup of the Route 11 Boys, Secor attended Ithaca College. He brought Fuqua up to New York State, where they met Watson. Watson dissolved the Funnest Game, and together they assembled players all around Ithaca, New York, where there is a very lively old-time music scene. This included Kevin Hayes. They recorded an album that they could sell on the road, a cassette of 10 songs called Transmission. The group embarked on their Transmission tour in October of '98, busking across the whole of Canada. Circling back east in the spring of 1999, they moved into a farmhouse on Beech Mountain near Boone, North Carolina, where they were embraced by the Appalachian community. Their repertoire of old-time songs grew as they played with local musicians. Fuqua first brought home a Bob Dylan bootleg from a family trip to London, containing a rough outtake called Rock Me Mama, passing it to Secor. The rough bootleg was originally written and recorded by Dylan during the Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid sessions in February of 1973. Not so much a song as a sketch, Secor would later say, crudely recorded, featuring most prominently a stomping boot, the candy-coated chorus, and a mumbled verse that was hard to make out. A Dylan song with a mumbled verse? You gotta be shitting me. But the tune kept going through his mind. A few months later, while attending Phillips Exeter Academy in New Hampshire and feeling homesick for the South, he added verses about hitchhiking his way home, full of romantic notions put in his head by the beat poets, and most of all, Dylan. Secor says he sang his amplification of the song all around the country, from about 17 years of age to 26, before I ever even thought, oh, I better look into this. When he sought copyright in 2003 to release the song on OCMS in 2004, he discovered Dylan credited the phrase Rock Me Mama to bluesman Arthur Big Boy Crudup, who likely got it from a Big Bill Brunzi recording. In a way, it's taken something like 85 years to get completed, Secor says. Secor and Dylan signed a co-writing agreement and share copyright on the song, agreeing to a 50-50 split in authorship. Secor recalls that I met Dylan's son, Jacob, and Jacob said it made sense that I was a teenager when I did that, because no one in their 30s would have had the guts to try to write a Bob Dylan song. The group's version of the song was certified platinum by the Recording Industry Association of America in April of 2013, and 3 times platinum in November of 2023. Secor himself enjoys its popularity, saying in mid-2008, I don't mind playing it every night. I like to see what it does to people, and it's nice to have something that's guaranteed, especially when you're shuffling through new material. Of its popularity, he says, most of all, the reason why that song is so popular is because of Bob Dylan and his magical touch. Bob Dylan cast a spell with every song he made, particularly in 1973 when he wrote that chorus. I'm convinced that he put down his legal pad after he wrote that chorus and he scrapped it because he wrote Knocking on Heaven's Door. Lyrics. Headed down south to the land of the pines, I'm thumbing my way into North Carolina, staring up the road, pray to God I see headlights. I made it down the coast in 17 hours, picking me a bouquet of dogwood flowers, and I'm a hoping for Raleigh I can see my baby tonight. So rock me mama like a wagon wheel, rock me mama any way you feel. Hey, mama, rock me. Rock me mama like the wind and the rain, rock me mama like a southbound train. Hey mama, rock me. Running from the cold up in New England, I was born to be a fiddler in the old time string band. My baby plays the guitar, I pick a banjo now. Oh, the North Country winters keep a getting me now. Lost my money playing poker, so I had to up and leave. But I ain't a turning back to living that old life no more. So rock me, mama, like a wagon wheel. Rock me, mama, any way you feel. Hey, mama, rock me. Rock me, mama, like the wind and the rain. Rock me, mama, like a southbound train. Hey, mama, rock me. Walking to the south out of Roanoke, I caught a trucker out of Philly. Had a nice long toke, but he's headed west from the Cumberland Gap to Johnson City, Tennessee, and I got to get a move on before the sun. I hear my baby calling my name, and I know that she's the only one, and if I die in Raleigh, I will at least die free. So rock me, mama, like a wagon wheel. Rock me, mama, any way you feel. Hey, mama, rock me. Rock me, mama, like the wind and the rain. Rock me, mama, like a southbound train. Hey, mama, rock me. So his Old Crow Medicine Show's signature song, Wagon Wheel, is in some ways bigger than the group itself, even though the song's origins predate the formation of the musical act. Unfortunately, for some fans of the band and the song, it would reach its peak popularity as a top 40 hit once Darius Rucker of Hootie and the Blowfish got his hands on it and covered it in 2013. Rucker's take on the track is a fair rendition, but it made the song unavoidable and launched it into another stratosphere of mass popularity. John Cranford, with music label Swampfire Records, who organizes a regular jam session on Hilton Head Island in South Carolina called Swampfire Sessions, says, "It has become our generation's Freebird. Lately, it's been open season on Wagon Wheel, which has become the acoustic musician's Freebird, one of the very few songs that people actually know well enough to find it funny to request. The song has been performed so often live at venues and events that some actually discourage its performance. At the Swampfire Sessions, Cranford states, "We banned it. We literally put signs up that said absolutely no wagon wheel." The New England Americana Festival sells a shirt with an image of a wagon wheel with a line through it, creating a no wagon wheel zone. Man, some of us hate that song, Cranford said. Others play it all the time. Often playing Wagon Wheel on request. He quit doing so after Rucker's cover. The song was great when Dylan wrote it and Old Crow played it. But once Darius Rucker flooded the airwaves with his version, all hope was lost, Cranford said. Wagon Wheel has even been permanently banned at the Little Grill Diner, where Secor and Fuqua first performed. Ketch Secor is allowed to play Wagon Wheel whenever he wants, and Critter Fuqua can play it if he wants to, says Ron Copeland, owner of the venue at the time. But other than that, it is actually banned. So there you go. One thing I think is, oh, go ahead, John, please. I've talked enough.
Two things that spring to mind straight away. One is Wayne's World. Staircase denied.
Yes,
And the
exactly.
second thing is, you get that sometimes with certain acts where one song will just rise up through their natural sort of hemisphere of influence and become. I always thought it was weird how Jackie Wilson, um, obviously, he died in 84, I think it was. And yet, for some bizarre reason, Reet Petite, which isn't his best song, was a Christmas number one in the UK in '86. It just somehow went and shot right at the top of the charts. And it's not reflective of him at all. And people just think Jackie Wilson, Reba T, and there's a lot more to him than that. And it's weird how certain just one song will just whoosh,
Yeah.
that'll be it. And it kind of almost ruined the not ruined, but do you know what I mean? It sort of like it blinds people to the real true flavor of the artist or the band or whatever. Yeah.
Another thing that I think along the same lines of the subject matter you were just discussing, and obviously an integral part of this song's history and lineage and trajectory, is this microwaved version of expediting one's tolerance for a song. Um, so here's this song, up to 85 years old, at least in parts,
Yeah.
and it lies dormant for a while, and then all of a sudden it reemerges in the 2000s, quickly gets penned, and then gets thrust into the zeitgeist, and it goes through all of the bastardization and that microwave process that is so exaggerated compared to other Dylan songs, Beatles songs, Zeppelin songs that had years to sit and ruminate and before it was thrust into a commercial that everyone found fucking annoying, or a scene of a movie that everyone thought was the selling out of classic songs is a process that typically has taken a long period of time, and thus makes it more tolerable or at least palatable when it occurs. But this song was like, oh my God, we got to make up for lost time. This is a Dylan track. This could have been in. And so it gets microwaved to a top 40 hit almost instantly and doesn't get that 25 to 30 years of being allowed to breathe and just fucking exist before it gets turned into this commercial commodity. And that is where the bitterness comes from. You know what I mean? I remember when my dad in the late 90s or early 2000s, my dad saw a Cadillac commercial that featured a Zeppelin song, and he was, this is fucking bullshit. This goes against the culture that made that song popular, blah 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 blah. He loved Dylan more than Zeppelin. So to see this happen to this old artifact that should have been treated with far more reverence, and I'm not blaming Old Crow for this. They did a fine job in bringing this thing to life and working hand in hand with Dylan to do so. It's the it's what Darius Rucker did. It's what companies did with the song and all that just exacerbated it and almost just beat the life out of it before it even took its first breath when you compare it to other songs. So I'm sorry, that's just me on a soapbox, but
Yeah, there's two sides to that. So one would be the phenomenon of the Levi jeans 501 commercials, which in this country, especially again in the 80s, they put an old song on a 501 commercial and it became, top 10, probably number one. They really, for me, that sort of, bastardization was they took one of the greatest songs ever, heard it through the grapevine, and used it in that, and that was just sacrilegious. But I mean, also they took "Should I Stay or Should I Go" by the Clash, and that suddenly became a massive hit,
yeah,
which is really hard as well because that was, arguably is one of their sellout songs. So it's a great song, but there you go. But then the flip side of that is we get Nick Drake, who had sold 5,000 records, and that was it in his lifetime. It gets picked up by a VW TV commercial, and suddenly the whole world is opened up to this fantastic artist that I probably wouldn't have never heard of if it weren't for that. So that's a pretty rare case actually. They're doing good.
exactly. So
But yeah, and you're right. The other thing I'd say is like, particularly in the '60s, Dylan was just something like almost like an archivist of old American folk songs, you Woody Guthrie's, all that sort of stuff. He was bringing them back, and he was almost like a curator and really respectful as well, of the sort of the essence of those songs. And it was fascinating to see. And then, as you say, then it becomes, you know, a jingle or whatever, and away it goes.
exactly. And the mentality of curating it for the sake of preservation then shifts into commodifying it to make money off of it. And when you take into consideration the ethics of the roots level listeners to this kind of music, that is going to fly in the face of everything that they believe. The idea of turning a classic Americana song into, some way to sell fucking cars or, get people to sign up for a bank account or something like that. It's all off-putting and it's not organic and it's not in the essence of the artist or the art. And that's what's frustrating about it. So this song didn't even it's just ironic to me. It just makes me kind of laugh and shake my head about what we do in society with some of this stuff. But the part about Secor and working with Dylan and really bringing this thing Frankenstein style back to life with his permission, doing it the right way, that is wildly admirable. So I loved how the song came to be. It's just what was done with it within years of its release that it is vexing. But it is what it is.
Hootie and the Blowfish.
I'm feeling every bit my 42 years of age here, a middle-aged griper, but
I went through a phase, just this one side, of trying to stop myself swearing so much by substituting my curse words with other words. And for a while it worked, because there was a while when some unfortunately just don't work anymore. Like I used to say Hezbollah, and of course they came back into the news. Said, "Yeah, not advisable. Shut up, yeah, stub your toe." But one thing I would do is like instead of swearing and saying, effing and jeffing, I go, "Oh, Hootie and the Blowfish," and then somebody said to me, "Oh, you're a fan as well, are you?" I was like, "Oh, Jesus, right, cut things up." Either.
How about Hootie the Blowfish is more offensive than motherfucker? So
Yeah,
there you go. There's that. Oh man. Well, thank you for giving this a listen, John. I thought you would at least find the Dylan facet, and even the artists
yeah,
that predate Dylan that he credited, and how the song took all this time to finally reach airwaves. You know what I mean? It's just a really cool, fascinating story historically about music. So cool. Glad you enjoyed the show, enjoyed the listen, and appreciated the history behind all of it. Guys out there in the listening audience, please let us know what you think of the song Wagon Wheel by Old Crow Medicine Show. If you are familiar with the story or whatever, please feel free to drop down anything down in the comments field below if you got more to add to it. If there's other stuff that we should check out, also feel free to add it down below. And if you haven't, please like, share, and or subscribe. It goes a long way to help us here at the channel. It only costs you a couple clicks. We really do appreciate it. And hopefully John and I will catch all y'all in growing numbers on the next installment of the Audiophiles. We'll see you later, guys.